Okay. All right, so we're all here.
He can hear us.
I'll call the meeting to order. You wanted to start. Okay. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Walsh?
Here.
Bean?
Here.
Jones?
Here.
Edberg?
Here.
Engstrand?
Here.
Thank you. Would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to approval of the minutes of the December 14th meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of the minutes for the December 29th special meeting. Any corrections to those minutes?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And at this point, we will. Oh, and I forgot to tell. Mr. Gilchrist is out tonight, but he's on Zoom. So he couldn't be with us in person. So that's. Oh, and before I forget, there he is.
So does that make him the voice of God coming into our?
There's a reason. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So at this point, I would like to. I introduced Lindy at the December 29th meeting, but we have a much bigger audience tonight, so I would like to welcome Lindy to the city of White Bear Lake. She started actually on the 20th of December, and so I know she's going to do an outstanding job, and we're thrilled she's here. And so she'll be sworn in a few minutes, and her parents are here to witness this, which is lovely. And so with that, I will temporarily recess the meeting. Mr. Edberg?
Mr. Jones.
Madam Mayor, would you join me down at the podium?
Okay. Wait, I got caught. There we go. You know.
We'll stand right here.
Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, it is my honor, thank you, Council, for allowing me to do this, to present you with your bear. After 12 years of mayoral service to our city, there's been very few mayors in a suburban role throughout history when you think about how you've represented our city, our community, our metro area, our state, our country, and internationally. Think about it. During a time that has been crazy, politically, pandemic, recession, all those things, you've been there with your steady hand, showing up in places every single time. Your service has been almost unparalleled, at least for my concern. With that, here's your bear. Thank you very much for your service to the city of White Bear. You are one in a million.
I have to say, I can get weepy this time because I'm done. So I don't have to hold it together anymore. No, this is a thrill to have this bear. I've given them out over the years. I've loved doing it. Everybody that gets their bear loves their bear, and this one will go in my new apartment that I will be moving to in March. So I'm very excited about that. I want to thank this council and the previous council member Belial is in the audience, and so former city manager Sather's here. It's former city manager Heinecker is here. And so it's just fun. It's been fun to do this. I've so enjoyed it. It's been my privilege and my honor. And I look forward to retirement. And with that, I'm going to go sit over there because I believe Councilmember Edberg has something. And Councilmember Jones, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Bean, will you join me?
You've been summoned.
Councilmember Bean, on behalf of the residents of your ward, the city, our metro area, all of those who have been impacted by your service. It's my honor to present you a banner recognizing your service to our community. I want to tell you that it's been a personal honor to serve with you. You have consistently been faithful and diligent in performing your work. I particularly have valued your perspectives on law enforcement that you have brought, that has seasoned and shaped a number of our conversations. I appreciate the contributions you've made about employees, public service, and perhaps through all of it, a sense of good grace, a sense of humor, a sense of fair play. Thank you for your service.
I want to thank everyone. The last 12 years has been very insightful, very informative, very fun. I enjoyed working with the city staff. I enjoyed hearing from and reaching out to my constituents, and it was one of the most impactful events in my careers. I also want to congratulate Heidi, who will be taking over for Ward 2, and I am certain she will do a fantastic job, and just wish everybody the best and wish Heidi the best. Thank you.
With that, I would invite the city clerk and the mayor-elect to join us at the podium. And while they're coming up, what we're about to witness is not only, it is certainly personal accomplishment and the honoring of effort, but what we are all participating in is the peaceful transfer of power, which is a tradition that some in this country trace back to the inauguration of John Adams and the inauguration after George Washington. It's part of the pageant of democracy that's being played out this month throughout America, in communities large and small. And I would like us to ponder that as a part of our norms of democratic tradition in this country.
Dan Lewis Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and will discharge and faithfully execute
and will discharge and faithfully execute
the duties devolving upon me
the duties devolving upon me
as mayor for the city of White Bear Lake
as mayor for the city of White Bear Lake
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I believe next we have Heidi Hughes. All right. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Heidi Hughes,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and and the state of Minnesota,
and will discharge and faithfully execute
and will discharge and faithfully execute
the duties devolving upon me
the duties devolving upon me
as council member for Ward 2
as council member for Ward 2
for the city of White Bear Lake
for the city of White Bear Lake
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And the duties devolving upon me are to swear you in at this time. Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Kevin Lee Edberg,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and will discharge and faithfully execute
and will discharge and faithfully execute
the duties devolving upon me
the duties devolving upon me
as council member for Ward 4
as council member for Ward 4
for the city of White Bear Lake
for the city of White Bear Lake,
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God.
Congratulations. Okay. So if you will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Lindy Crawford,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and I will discharge and faithfully execute
and I will discharge and faithfully execute
the duties devolving upon me
the duties devolving upon me
as city manager for the city of White Bear Lake
as city manager for the city of White Bear Lake,
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we're going to jump right into the business. So I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda if anyone has any additions or amendments to make.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the agenda, but I have a couple of changes to suggest. So maybe I'll just get the motion on the table first, and you can get a second. Unless somebody doesn't want to second my motion to approve the agenda, which has happened before. Just the consent agenda. There's a couple, 3 items on the consent agenda I'd like to bounce off and just do as business. I'm not sure where they exactly would go. I don't know. New business? New business, thanks. So item E, the newspaper issue. Item H, city attorney approval. And then item J, purchase of capital equipment. I just feel like we can talk about them when they come up, but I feel like they should just get a little bit of a discussion. I probably support all 3 of them, but let's just bounce them off the consent and have a little discussion on those. So.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. So moving on to the consent agenda, I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Councilman Edberg.
Mr. Mayor, I would move approval of the consent agenda as presented with the exception of E, H, and J.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So, moving on to unfinished business. Resolution approving a request by Green Halo Builds for final plat approval of Rooney Second Edition. Ms. Crosby.
you, Mayor, members of the council. The subject site, 1800 County Road E, is located on the south side of County Road E between Linden Avenue and Auger Avenue. The 4.6-acre property contains the original farmstead with 3 accessory structures. The property, which is also known as Rooney's Farm, contains an often humorous changeable copy message sign. And after the owner's passing in 2020, the family of the state has been working to plat the property into 10 lots, 9 single-family residential lots, and 1 outlot for stormwater. Due to the shape of the property, all the images are sideways, so north is going to be to the left, County Road E to the left. And the family desires to keep the original residence and associated structures. Therefore, Lot 4 is about 1 acre in size. All the other lots meet or exceed code, which is a minimum of 10,500 square feet in the R3 zoning district, which is single-family residential. Lots 4 and 5 are the only lots that will access County Road E. All the other lots will be served by a new public cul-de-sac road constructed directly across from Rooney Place. The stormwater outlot is located in the southwest corner of the property. This is the proposed final plat. The development was originally envisioned to be a senior-friendly, but not senior-exclusive, community with a homeowners association proposed for lawn services and snow plowing. Since the preliminary plat was approved, a new builder has taken over the project who does not intend to have a homeowners association, but envisions a net zero ready house designs. Each home will be outfitted with solar panels, a car charging wall in the garage, energy-efficient appliances, and built with structurally insulated panels which create a building envelope superior to standard framing practices. As indicated in the applicant's marketing brochure, all homes will be Energy Star certified and stamped with the EPA Indoor Air Plus seal. The neighborhood will be called Eco Woods. The proposed final plat is identical to the approved preliminary plat, and therefore it may be approved by the City Council without further review by the Planning Commission. This is one of the first projects in a long time that has included a new public roadway, which triggers the need for a development agreement. A draft copy of the agreement was provided in your packet and has been reviewed and approved by both the city attorney and the applicant. In addition to approving the final plat, the resolution before you this evening also grants staff the authority to enter into that development agreement. The comprehensive plan has long envisioned the development of this property as a single-family residential subdivision that mirrors the neighborhood to the south, and this project provides just that. The proposed final plat complies with all the city's regulations and is consistent with the approved preliminary plat. Consequently, staff recommends approval, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Council, any questions for Ms. Crosby? Any further discussion on this?
I'll move approval.
Do I have a second?
See, take that, Hugo. We got a new cul-de-sac. What do you think of that?
Any further discussion?
I'm just curious, Ms. Crosby, was there any discussion about a requirement for the family? Don Rooney provided humor for this community for about 60, 80 years on that site. Is there any chance we might continue to benefit from his humor, even if recycled?
Can we write that in? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the sign, to the best of my knowledge, is going to be relocated to remain on the property. It does need to be moved back in order to be retained, but I believe they intend to do so.
Any further discussion?
Follow-up comment to that.
Councilman Jones.
Naming of the street, would it be continued or would it be?
Mayor Member Jones,
Cul-de-sac?
it will also be called Rooney Place, and it will not be north because there is no south. It'll just be the same name of Rooney Place.
Thank you.
Anything else from the council?
Yeah, I'm the new girl, so I just don't know. So has this already gone through the Planning Commission?
That's correct.
And has there been any disagreement from anybody that has said, hey, I've got a concern?
No, Mayor and Member Hughes, sorry. There was some concern expressed by residents in relation to the stormwater drainage, but that was all worked out at the Planning Commission level.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If there's nothing further, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Motion carries. Moving on to new business resolution electing the chair of the White Bear City Council. Ms. Crawford.
Section 4.13 of the city charter provides the city council shall, at its first regular meeting of the January following a municipal election, elect one member as the chair of the city council. The chair of the city council shall reside over meetings of the city council in absence of the mayor. Further, will assume, exercise, and perform all of the powers and duties of the mayor during the mayor's temporary absence and disability. Currently, the chair of the city council is Councilmember Edberg, and so tonight the city council does need to appoint a chair. With that, I stand for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Crawford? Councilman Walsh.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to nominate Councilmember Edberg for another term as the president of the council.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominees? With that, we will vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Speech? Speech? No, you already made a speech.
I simply wish a long and abundant good health for the mayor.
So do we.
Outstanding.
Moving on to new business 8B, resolution appointing city representatives to various organizations. Ms. Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor. Annually, the mayor and city council designate representatives to various organizations in which the city is a member. Those organizations are outlined in the staff report, which as follows: Ramsey County League of Local Governments, Badness Lake Area Water Management Organization, Ramsey County Dispatch Policy Committee, Northwest Youth and Family Services, Ramsey Washington Suburban Cable Commission, and new for this year is the Metro Purple Line Corridor Management Committee, which the mayor did receive a letter requesting an appointment, a representative and an alternate be appointed to that committee.
So unless council has any objections, I think we should just go one by one through it and see where we land. So starting with the Ramsey County League of Local Government, the previous representative was Councilman Bean, who has now vacated the council, and the alternate was Representative Engstrand. I will put you on the spot. Councilman Engstrand, would you be willing to slide from the alternate role into the representative role in that?
I don't think I'd be able to make enough meetings.
Okay. I believe I did speak with Councilwoman Hughes that may be interested in that. Is that a role you'd like to serve?
No, actually, I was thinking of a different one, to be honest.
All right, we're appreciate you guys making it difficult for my first meeting here. That's great. Anybody willing to serve on this particular one, or are we just going to leave it vacant and say White Bear Lake doesn't care?
I mean, you can put a name in there. It's just a matter of how much we participate, I guess. Maybe it's probably good to have a name there, so you can put my name on it. I don't even know how many.
I appreciate that.
How many times they meet, or how often, or what they do, but.
Thursday evenings.
Oh, does it say that? Should have read the memo.
Mm-hmm. Linda wrote a great memo.
You've put your name forward, and
in favor.
So, Councilman Engstrand, would you be willing to continue as in an alternate role?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll call you when I can't make a meeting.
Apparently, it's going to be weekly.
Ms. Crawford, as a point of process, should we be going individually by these, having had nominations, and then bring it before a vote for the full council?
You have a resolution which includes all of the committees, so you can go for discussion and then make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay, so we can plug in names in the resolution as we go.
Yep.
All right, so we have Councilman Walsh as representative for the Ramsey County League of Local Government, Councilman Engstrand as the alternate. Let's move on to Vadnais Lake Area Water Management. Councilman Jones, you're currently serving on that. Would you like to continue in that capacity or vacate that role?
I'd make your life difficult, but I'll just say yes right now.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Councilman Walsh.
Or just that you want to vacate?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will stay.
I appreciate that. Councilman Walsh, would you be okay staying in the role as alternate?
Yeah.
All right, we're moving along here. Ramsey County Dispatch Policy Committee, again, that was vacated by Councilman Bean. Would anybody like that position? Councilman Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I want to remain as alternate. These meetings take place during business hours. I don't have the time with other things going on. If I've got time during the business hours, I want to dedicate it to this city council business. Not that the 911 isn't very important, but I will remain as the alternate.
Okay. Anyone willing to serve as representative on that?
Councilman Jones, what time during the day do those meetings take place if they're business hours?
It's like 10 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, okay.
If you can try to be there more often than not.
I'm
happy to do it.
I'm just going to say no. I'm a bad alternate. I will admit that. I just can't dedicate the time away during business hours.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Councilwoman Hughes as representative, and Councilman Jones will remain as alternate. The Northwest Youth Family Services, Councilman Walsh, you currently a representative of that. Are you willing to continue with that service?
Well, first of all, it's Northeast Youth and Family Services, so we should probably get that right in the resolution.
It's just on the front of it.
That's in the resolution too.
Right
I talked to Councilwoman Hughes about that, and she just volunteered something else. But I'm happy to serve on it. I've been on it since I've been on the council for 6 years. Their board bylaws kind of have people rotating off in less than 6 years. I've kind of stayed just, because we fund them and because they use our building, and we've just said I'm going to stay. But I think they'd be more comfortable if I rotated off. So I guess I'm willing to keep doing it. I think it's a great organization. We're going to hire another executive director here. Been working on kind of some mission issues with them, what their mission really is. But if you're interested in doing it, and this is I think a pretty good board meeting because it's 7:30 a.m. last Thursday of the month. It's actually not a bad time. And for me, it was right on the way to work. I hit 7:30 meeting, 8:30 I rolled out of there and got to work relatively on time. So that's the commitment. You can serve on a committee. I was on a fundraising committee. I was intermittent in my attendance on the committee. I was pretty good on the board meetings. So that's the commitment. So it's a great learning experience. It's a great organization in the field of mental health, which is everybody's discussion right now. Really important stuff they're doing because they focus mostly on youth. So if I can make the case for you to do it, then I'd say do it. But if not, I'll certainly keep serving.
I'm happy to.
Okay.
I am happy to. Will you be serving as an alternate?
I can be the alternate, although we haven't really used an alternate in that capacity. So
Okay.
you're it.
Councilwoman Hughes, thank you. We have you in that. And so I'll defer to you, Councilman Walsh, if we haven't had an alternate and you don't think there's a need
No
to.
accounting for it really in their bylaws. So, just
Okay.
you're just going to have to go to all the meetings.
I'm just going to follow in your footsteps, Bill.
All right. Perfect attendance expected. Thank you. Ramsey Washington Suburban Cable Commission, Councilman Walsh. You've served in that role, and I believe you indicated to me that you'd be comfortable continuing.
Yeah, as long as you need me. I mean, that's traditionally been a citizen, and Mayor Emerson made a decision to make a change there and put me on it. I mean, I think we can talk about how long I serve on that. I think it'd be nice to transition. Mr. Juba can help us. He's been helping me with that thing. So just if things are settled there and in good shape, I think we can go back to the citizen and find a citizen. So for now tonight, yes, keep me on there. But
okay. So we'll continue with Councilman Walsh in that role, and staff will note that we'll look into rotating back to a citizen appointee. Councilman Edberg.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Walsh, so I'm just trying to tease out responsibilities. So the mayor has authority to appoint lots of committees, lots of commission members, et cetera. Might this fall into that category, or where the authority rests with the mayor, or is there some other titular or bylaw requirement that says the council has to select? What's your understanding of the
I don't know.
rules and rights?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember, I don't know. I mean, I think we haven't really had this one in our packet before. I don't think so. I think it is a mayor's appointment. Maybe it's just here because a councilman happens to be on it right now.
Okay.
But
I'm not aware either. We might need to do a little research, but to the extent that we give the mayor the authority to appoint, I'd be if that's consistent with our practice, and I'm comfortable with that. But
Okay, so
You want to appoint Councilmember Walsh until, at your pleasure, he is no longer worthy of serving in that role and needs to be replaced. Have at it.
Well said.
well said.
Wow.
Councilman Walsh.
Issue two is that it is your specific call on that, and I'm fine with Mr. Walsh, although I hope he doesn't influence, what may or may not be on my TV. Because your movie taste is really bad.
What's your address again?
Really bad.
I should get that down. You moved recently, right? Yeah.
So we'll move forward with the resolution having Councilman Walsh appointed to that, and then if city staff can confirm if that is in fact correct, that it is my appointment, then I would, city staff is free to submit applications or solicit applications from residents to try and fill that post. Ms. Crawford, the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, that will be taken up under that meeting when we do adjourn that? Or is that, what do we need to do for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority?
Mayor, the Housing and Redevelopment Authority is made up of the city council members. When they go into their meeting, they will appoint a chair and vice chair of the HRA. So there's no action on the HRA at this point.
Okay. So assuming the city clerk has made note of all those names that we have put forth, and
one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Crawford. We have the appointment of the Metro Purple Line Coordinator Corridor Management Committee. I have asked Councilman Walsh to serve on that, and he has agreed to do so. So unless there's objection or anyone else that wants to throw their hat in the ring, that's how I'd like to see that proceed. Any other comments on that? We do need an alternate for the Metro Purple Line Corridor Management Committee. Would anyone like to be an alternate on that? Councilman Edberg.
Again, Mr. Walsh, please stay healthy.
All right. All right. Okay. Did we check all the boxes, Ms. Crawford? We have everyone? And the clerk has got a good record of that. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve all of the names that we put forward for the assorted and various organizations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we are going to briefly... So note to self, as new mayor, always good to have a good city manager to remind me of all the things that I'm missing. We are going to move on to the items that were removed from the consent agenda and are now under new business, and we will first take what was consent agenda for item E, which will now be under new business, resolution naming the official newspaper to perform official publications. Ms. Crawford.
Okay. My apologies. Mayor, annually we appoint a newspaper. We are legally required by state statute to appoint an official newspaper of the city where our publications will go for public hearings, etc. And it was recommended that the city council adopt the resolution naming the official newspaper to be the, and my apologies.
Whitebear Press.
Thank you. And
okay. Does anyone have any discussion on that?
Yeah.
Councilman Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the reason I asked this to take this off consent, and I plan to vote for the resolution, this is an opportunity to talk about maybe legislative agenda. This is a state mandate that says that we have to publish all these legal notices in a newspaper. And in 2022, we can communicate that in a much different way and, frankly, a much cheaper way than buying column inches in a newspaper. Now, that being said, I mean, I love our local newspaper. I want our local newspaper to survive financially and its revenue for the city or for the newspaper, and I get that. But this is just, and this has been on the agenda of cities, the League of Cities, for years at the legislature, and it's a difficult one because it comes up in the legislature, and small town newspaper editors call their legislators and say, "Hey, if you kill this mandate, we lose this much business, and the local paper goes out of business. We can't survive without this revenue." So it's kind of, I don't know what the word is, awkward, weird to have a state mandate to basically prop up local newspapers around the state. So I'm going to support it. I think, and we can get a better deal than our local paper, but I think we should do our announcements because we have to in our local paper. But just as a legislative agenda idea, there's got to be a better way, maybe a better way for us to support our local paper that isn't kind of forced like this, and also a better way to communicate important notices, like maybe on the internet in 2022. It's on all night, doesn't even go away. Go on 2 in the morning, it's right there, it's always on. I mean, so maybe we could use our website for these kind of notices if the legislature ever lets us do it. So I just wanted to make that little speech and make that point, and I'm going to move the resolution. I support the resolution.
Thank you, Councilman Walsh. Any further discussion on that?
I'll second with further discussion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So I concur with Councilmember Walsh on this. There's also the aspect of the waiting time period. We sit there and have to have post X amount of days. That wouldn't be the case with electronic delivery. If there is a case, and I certainly understand the financial aspect of it, I would say keep going whatever we can do, because this is wasting taxpayers' money when it could be put on a website. And the argument for free access, right? Well, the newspapers aren't free. I can still go, I can go to the library and read them, but I also can go to the library and get on the internet for free. So there has been a couple occasions during my tenure where that date of, well, it's got to be published, and it has delayed things. So thank you, Councilmember Walsh, for pointing that out.
Anyone else?
Yeah. I completely disagree. I think it's so great that it's printed in the newspaper, and that when the newspaper arrives at my house, I can open it up and I can read it, and it's right there presented to me, and I don't have to get on the internet and dig through 14 pages of what's on top of the website to find out something that I wouldn't even have known to go look for. And that's it. That I wouldn't. How would I know to even go look for information on Plat 904 that's going to be in some other area that I might be interested in, but wouldn't even know until later? And I think that informing people of what's going on in their community isn't bad. While I think that wasting taxpayer dollars is a real nuisance, I'm just not really sure that moving everything onto the internet is always in our best interest, but maybe I'm just old school.
Councilman Edberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Walsh, I really respect your good antennas when it comes to a legislative agenda. What I would ask you to take on is if you or anyone else is going to bring this as a policy conversation for us to take on, I really would like to have an alternative, or have you think about what does it look like for the city on behalf of our citizens to have open access and retain all of the other benefits that a local newspaper provides. So if you're going to come and say, hey, it's not our business, we don't have to care, okay, that's a legitimate position. If it's, we can still help our newspaper, we can be supportive of local coverage that includes more than just the classified ads. I'd really like you to wrestle with that and come with those suggestions at the same time. So just kind of planting a seed for a future policy conversation if we're going to have it.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, good thoughts, something we may revisit in the future. If there's no further discussion, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the resolution appointing the White Bear Lake City Press as our official newspaper, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to resolution designating city attorney, counselor, and prosecutor. Ms. Crawford, can you give us a little brief explanation of that?
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight you were asked to adopt a resolution establishing the city attorney. Also in the staff report discusses the prosecuting attorney, but we do have a 3-year contract with that individual through January 31st, 2023. Staff does recommend a reappointment of the firm Kennedy and Graven. Mr. Gilchrist has been our city attorney and has done a wonderful job. The firm has proposed a 3% rate increase for 2022, which is reflective of our 2022 employee wage adjustments. In your staff report, you do also have an annual cost for legal services for the past 5 years. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for the city manager?
So, Mr. Mayor, I again will move approval of the resolution. We did quite a process a few years ago to pick a city attorney. We had a search committee. Councilmember Edberg and I served on it. It didn't quite work out, and we kind of had to adjust on the fly and hired Kennedy and Graven. I personally have been very happy with the service, both of the firm and of Troy. It's got a deep firm, as we saw in this last real estate thing we did here. That was kind of key, that they had some real estate people he could call on. So I'm perfectly happy with the representation, but thought we should just vote on this decision. It's a big decision, and the rate increase. And maybe if we have time, I have a series of 15 or 20 questions for Mr. Gilchrist. If he's on the Zoom, we could answer. No? Okay. He knows I'm kidding. It's not even, doesn't even work.
Anybody else have any questions? Councilman Edberg.
Not a question. When it comes a year from now, and we're entertaining a question about the prosecuting firm, I'd almost value having a conversation about that prior to our January meeting. Just some review and assessment, and so I'm just flagging that for a year from now, that we have conversation before we have a recommendation for whatever we're going to do.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments on this? Mr. Gilchrist, you are on the line. I want to give you the opportunity if you have anything that you would like to add.
You're muted.
I think you're on mute.
The way an attorney should be.
Wow. Shoot. Can't hear him.
We're having some technical difficulties.
I'm going to take that as you have nothing to add. You can signify by nodding your head up and down. Very good. See, there's a workaround from the technological issues that we're having. Okay. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve that resolution. So moved. Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to a resolution approving the purchase of capital equipment items per the city's 2020 budget and capital improvement plan. Ms. Crawford.
I will turn this over to Ms. Kinsvater.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Just as a review, the city maintains a 10-year capital improvement plan to support the financial planning for our financial management plan and our annual budget document. Each year, staff updates the capital improvement plan to review prioritization of purchases and projects to ensure appropriate costs are included for each item. Staff presents both this capital improvement plan and the financial management plan to the City Council for discussion and approval during a work session in the spring, and then we bring it back to the Council for approval. Our practice has been to notify the City Council as departments are planning to purchase equipment for the year if they have a value greater than $100,000. And both when we talk about these items, these are items that have been approved in the capital improvement plan last year for 2022 and approved in the budget document for 2022. In previous years, they had come sporadically throughout the year. And when a department was going to approve an item or seeking to purchase one and they wanted approval for purchase. Recently, we started bringing this to the City Council as the total of all of the equipment that were over $100,000. And we would bring it earlier in the year because with the supply chain issues that we've been experiencing these last couple of years, it's important that we start working with the purchasing process for these equipment pieces so that we can hopefully get the equipment by the end of the year. And that's kind of playing out in this year. This is kind of a unique year. As we look at the list of equipment that you're considering, 3 of the items on the list were approved last year at this same process in 2021. And we started the process, and those items at the fall of this year were not, they weren't ready to be delivered, and we can't pay for them, so we moved them forward to the 2022 budget. Those items, again, since they're over $100,000, that's why you're seeing them again. So that would be the multi-use truck with the garbage capabilities for $153,000. The body portion of the tandem axle dump truck, so we've already paid for the chassis part. Now this is the body for $150,795, and the new ice resurfacer for the sports center at $115,000. In addition to those three things that are coming back to you, there are three new pieces of equipment that are greater than $100,000 that have been planned for in our capital improvement plan and financial management plan. That is a single axle dump truck with an estimate of $230,000, a public works facility backup generator for $125,000, and a new ambulance for $250,000. I'm not going to go through and present a discussion on each of these pieces of equipment because we have discussed them through the approval of the capital improvement plan, but I did put some key notes into the memo for you to review. As noted in the memo, if you approve this resolution, the amounts are estimates based on last year's budgeting process, and staff will work to purchase these items at that cost or lower. However, if the purchase price were to come back higher as they go out for their bids, and just because of where the economy is right now, staff will bring back the item for your approval if it's going to be more than these amounts. Finance for these 2022 purchases are a combination of current revenues, fund balance, and funds received from the federal government through the revenue loss recapture section of the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Aid. And so as part of the budget plan for the ARPA funds, and as we looked at our capital improvement plan, the ARPA funds eliminates the need for us to issue bond to purchase a couple of the items that were on the list. So that can save some money in that bonding process. So with that, I'll entertain any questions, but I recommend approval of the resolution to move forward with these purchasing processes.
Thank you, Ms. Kinsvater. Any questions for Ms. Kinsvater? Comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Councilman Edberg.
So this is more a process, and it's more for Councilmember Walsh. So the process that we're using for the consent agenda is modestly new. It's not completely new. And I do not object to the use that was proposed. I do not object to the right of any council member to request something to be withdrawn. But I am thinking that over time we as a council would be wise to give some guidance to the city manager and the mayor as to what kinds of things might they want to include or not include. So Councilmember Walsh, I'm curious what kinds of issues were inherent inside this application or this item that might suggest need for this conversation as opposed to action in the consent agenda. So asking for your feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Edberg. I mean, for this item, it was just spending money. I mean, and it was $1 million total. And absolutely understand that we've already approved it in a plan that we've approved, and even in the ARPA discussion we've had. But I think when we actually spend it, I like your $100,000 threshold to bring it to us. We ought to just have a little bit of a discussion on it. I expect to vote for it and support it. I feel like I already have authorized it. But it's also a good communication tool. I mean, so folks know, hey, an ambulance costs $250,000, and we have to buy them regularly, to replace old ones because the technology got to keep up, and they're really expensive. And there's a little bit of a communications function to that too. So I think for the staff, I think for me, if we're spending a lot of money, I like the $100,000 threshold. I just as soon vote on it, have some discussion, have people know what we're doing. It's just a transparency thing, at least for this item. So.
Councilman Edberg.
So if I can respond. It seems to me that when we make a decision to approve a budget, that there's certain assumptions and authorities that go with that, and that when we act, that gives authority to staff to pursue certain actions. And it's a redundancy to bring that back and force additional conversation. I appreciate the idea that there's, it's $1 million. It is, but we don't do that with our biweekly payroll. That's not $1 million either, but it adds up to a substantial sum. So I'm trying to tease out what that useful distinction is, because I'm actually not kind of seeing it in that logic applied to these decisions, and instead I actually almost see an opportunity for mischief. That if we approve and bids come in at or under our certain estimates, that's authority. And when we act, we should act with the assumption that staff should proceed. And then if something else goes wacky, let's deal by exception, but not as a blanket process. So we can have this conversation going on over time. It's not make or break, and I don't think either one of us are going to vote against this. But just as a way of refining this process for our use, we should get good at it.
Agreed.
Well, I appreciate the comments from Mr. Walsh, Mr. Edberg. As we break in new relationships and fine-tune the process, I would welcome a continued conversation. It certainly doesn't serve any of us for the city manager and I to put it on the consent agenda just for it to regularly be removed. So it serves all of us to have some agreement and some buy-in from everyone. So I would welcome the continued conversation. Any further discussion on this? With that, I had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. With that, we can take a brief recess and we will adjourn the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. And with that, I will throw it to Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, I will call this meeting to order the Housing and Redevelopment Authority of the City of White Bear Lake. Don't need it. At 7:53 p.m. With that, will Ms. Crawford please do a roll call as secretary? I'm looking at you. You're stated as secretary, and she's deferring to our Kara. I'm sorry. I'm being particular.
Will be noted.
Thank you. With that, all of attendance. All right. With that, we have an agenda, and I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as stated under item number 9.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All approved. All right. The approval of the first item on the agenda is the December 14th HRA meeting minutes. Is there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
With that, motion and a second. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved too. All right, with that, really our only duty of a business is to elect the chair and vice chair of the HRA. So, with the position of chair, do we have any nominations?
We should ask the vice chair if he wants to step up. I mean, that's the obvious question. You want to?
Yeah, I would do it if the council tolerate it.
Well, I think because of your vast experience in the number 2 role, that the rest of us don't have. Based on that, I nominate.
That's what Dan
Councilmember
Quayle
Jones.
said. But anyways,
To be the chair of the HRA.
I'm pulling out an old one.
Oh, we're getting out of control here.
Thank you. All right, so is that a formal?
That's a nomination. I don't think a nomination even requires a second, if I'm right, from my parliamentary procedures.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Are there any other nominations for chair? All right, closing nominations. We have one nomination of Dan Jones. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, I am your chair of the HRA. Thank you very much. Now, with the vice chair position, do I have nominations?
I'll nominate Councilmember Edberg if he'd be willing to serve.
I would.
Okay.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Nominations closed. All right, we have Mr. Edberg as a nomination for vice chair. All those, no other approvals. Do I have a motion to elect him as? What?
He had a question.
Oh, I didn't see you.
So, one of the things that I think the HRA, we've had a housing study done for the complete city. We've had a housing task force. one of the things that I think we have been missing is that we have been relatively perfunctory in our use of the HRA authorities. We have convened it when necessary. We've had a couple of instances where it actually was doing something. We can do many of the things through the council. I think a useful goal for the HRA for the year would be to have a greater understanding of what role strategically might this play in our city development. What kinds of capacities does it give us that we can't have as a city council or whatevers, but just to understand the tool so that with the outcome that as we talk about what policies might we want to be thinking about for the city and for the development of our housing stock, that we know what's in our toolbox. And so I guess I would ask both the chair, and if you're going to elect me, I'll accept that as another one, that we, over the course of the year, that we find a way or some ways to figure out what does this mean, what can it do for us, and not that we have to have anything, but at least to have an understanding of that.
Noted. Any other comments?
Question, Mr. Chair, and I don't know, put staff on the spot. Does anybody know or remember, we have hundreds of thousands of dollars in this account, or what is there's a balance in an account, right? And there's an income flow in and out. We've used it before to purchase a home temporarily, then we resell it for development purposes. Does anybody know what the dollar amount is? Even rough?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I don't know that off the top of my head, but
I want to say less than $200,000.
Oh, it's more than that.
Is it? Okay.
It's more than that. And this fall, I need to do some follow-up. We, with like the TIF part of it, Ellers was doing a summary document for it. I need to follow up and find out where that was, because they were going to be able to look at like our TIF and tell us what money we have, what we could do with it, and some options. So it was really kind of a TIF management plan that would be kind of similar to our financial management plan, but just focus on TIF. So I'm
Sounds
sorry
like a great work session topic. Even if we carved out 15 minutes for that, eventually, that'd be cool.
All right. So all those in favor, as Mr. Edberg is vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Mr. Edberg, you are a vice chair. Thank you for your commitment. With that, we come to the end of our Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting.
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
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 That quick, and you blew 2 minutes on the money.
All right. We will reconvene the regular city council meeting. Clerk will note the time. We have nothing under discussion. Last item on the agenda, number 11, communications from our new city manager. Ms. Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have, I believe these are regular reports in your packet. They're just listed on the agenda now rather than an FYI, if you will. So these are just, if you have any questions, staff can answer them. No need to take any action on the reports. So I'll pause for a minute there before I go forward. Are there questions on the Finance and License Bureau reports or the zoning and code violation reports? Nope. Okay. Then I do have one thing to share with you today. We will have a work session next Tuesday, January 18th. And the topic of that work session will be to discuss and potentially refresh our 2021 legislative priorities, discuss where those sit for 22, what you want to do with those, as well as I'll call it council/city manager protocols regarding items like the consent agenda and where those sit, just to have an open discussion and dialogue on sorts of that. So that is all I have.
What time?
6 p.m.
Can you invite going out, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Does anyone on the council have any questions for Ms. Crawford? Councilman Edberg.
Could we also add an agenda item that we actually have a conversation at that meeting about the scheduling of future work studies so that they don't pop up on our agenda without, so that we are intentional about scheduling our time together for the rest of the year, or at least the next X number of months.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet, you did approve meeting schedules. I can tell you right now, I don't have any further work sessions concrete scheduled, and I will certainly cancel those. We don't need to meet just to meet, but did want to discuss this one as we have a lot of change and new faces. Sounds like I'm thinking in February you want to have an HRA work session, or maybe March. We would like to, when the future community development director is on board, just talk about planning processes and how we go about that. You have your regular sessions in April and August for the budget, so there are a few set concrete work sessions, but truthfully, I was just kind of thinking through this today, so that's why I wanted to share it with you tonight. Thank you.
Anything else from Ms. Crawford? Seeing nothing. Before I entertain a motion to adjourn, as we have nothing else on our agenda, I did very briefly just want to mention something. As this is my first meeting and just sworn in as mayor, as someone who typically was sitting in the audience and observing these council meetings, I wanted to at least note and commend this council, because I was always very impressed with the level of civility and decorum that all the council members brought, even when there was disagreement. And I think that has been a hallmark of the White Bear Lake City Council. And I think it's commendable. And if I have any process priority as your new mayor, it is to continue that tradition. We have some things coming down the pipeline that I know are contentious, and I expect some lively debate, and that's good. That's how it's supposed to work. But I'm confident that we will continue that level of respect and civility as we engage in these issues. So I did want to make note of that, to commend the council for their past good works, and ask that we continue it in the future. Right. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.